Yeah, I think yeah, disabled again. I
Yeah,
enabled it. Yeah,
yeah. Thanks, Manish. So, thanks, Kiran. Good morning and good evening, all. Very glad to see you all here. It's a pleasure to be a speaker in today's meetup. As Kiran was saying, let me introduce myself. I'm Hari Kaseti, working as an enterprise architect at Provis Software Services in delivering the integration projects. I have worked on multiple integration technologies. Started career with TIPCO, Delbumi, then MuleSoft, and certified in all of them along with cloud certification. I have worked as a delivery manager for these integration projects and also having the very good experience in implementing B2B projects across the customers around the globe actually. So before I start, right, I just want to thank Ram and Naresh on behalf of Providence Software Services for providing us this opportunity to speak in this meetup.
sure. Thanks for presenting here.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, Today I'm going to give some brief information on the B2B and EDI concepts, and also I would like to give some introduction on the Anypoint Partner Manager that is given in the MuleSoft platform. There are some screenshots which I am going to share at the end of the session. Please note that due to client privacy and confidentiality, I will not be. I'll be masking. We are sharing some of the screenshots which will be masked, and you may not be seeing all the information there. As it is showing the slide, let's talk about what is we are going to talk today. So first, I will talk about what is that B2B and EDA, and what are the advantages of EDA, different formats that are involved in the EDI side, and some of the use cases of the EDA. During this course of presentation, I will give more details on the flows and transaction types. I will be touching more on the external side because I was more versed with external. And also, I'll walk through some of the real-time transactions in case of healthcare and retail industries that I have experience with. Uh, then I will talk about Anypoint Partner Manager, and at the end, I will show some of the screenshots related to Partner Manager. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Before I go further into EDI, I just want to give bit of introduction on the B2B, then we'll jump into EDI side. So you might have heard many of you come across like okay in your experience the communication between C2C, A to A, B2C like that. So basically, if you see C2C, right, it is like consumer to consumer, where in which buyer to seller communication, I can say, and A to A is like application to application, and B2C is like B2C, business to consumer. But predominantly B2B is like EDA, business to business, where one organization or one entity will talk to other entity and exchange of the documents and transactions over the WAN. So these are the some of the examples where the interactions between whatever I was saying, right, between the buyer and seller, and supplier and retailer, and also the healthcare insurance providers, and then service payers actually. Next slide, please. Yeah, when you see the advantages, right, with every automation, we'll see like, okay, there will be more of manual work, I mean, less of manual work. We'll eliminate mainly the manual work, I can say. And then there will be human errors will be removed because of removal of the manual work. And also the transactions will be happening at real time, near real time. And you can increase the scalability or anything with this automation. Huge volumes can be handled at very short time. And also when you go for the automation, right, you don't have to write anything, or personal sensitive information will not be there on the paper like in the US, right? Social security numbers, passport numbers, date of birth, all are very critical, and they will not be there in the paper to tamper or to do something. So majority of the advantages goes here. Could you please change to the next slide, please? Yeah. So before I go into this picture, right, I just want to give two lines of introduction on the inbound and outbound. When you talk about B2B or ADI scenarios, right, usually people will talk about what is inbound, what is outbound. So they will say like, okay, inbound message, outbound message, like that. So for the novice or the beginners, right, I just want to give you a couple of things here. Inbound is like, okay, a flow where in which you will receive the message from the partners, and then it will be transformed into your application message format, and then you will be sending that transformed message to your backend system. And when you talk about outbound, right, so the outbound is like completely opposite of the inbound, in which the outbound message will be extracted from the backend applications or data sources, let's say, and then it will be transformed to the partners format, and then it will be sent to EDI as an EDI message to the partner. So if you see the partner uh, top of the picture, right? So there is like, okay, two systems wherein which both will be partners, we can say. So when you are initiating something, right, it will be like, okay, you will be the host on your side, and the partner that is going to get or receive that information, right, partner. So each partner has to send the information or through the gateway to the other partner, and the other side of the partner will receive the information through the gateway to its own systems. If you see the closely at the bottom of the picture, right, there is a trading partner EDA system side, where in which whatever I was just saying about inbound outbound, if you take the picture of the data source, that is starting point, where in which the data will be extracted from a data source, let's say the database or the file system or someplace. So that will be taken as a proprietary format, and it will be translated into the translation layer, where in which validations and uh, modifications and everything will be taken care, and then it will be converted into the EDA format and sent to the partner, which is like outbound scenario that I was explaining earlier. And if you go back to the opposite case, where in which partner sends the information, it will be coming to your layer, and you will be translating and then uh, converting into the proprietary format on your side, and then storing in the information is one of the opposite of this, uh, which is like inbound. Next slide, please, Naresh. So now I would like to talk about the formats. This is pretty much important. I see that, okay, uh, across the globe, right, there are two standards right now to avoid the confusion, and then to transact with their local or the specific region partners. They have introduced a couple of formats here. Usually, the US region will follow the external format, which is like ANSI, we can say. And most of the US partners, whenever they are trading with their counterparts, right, they will be exchanging the documents in terms of external. And if you go to the European side, right, European Union side, they will be talking in terms of edifact, we can say, which is like popular at the Europe side. Can you please go to the next slide, Naresh? Yeah. So if you go back to basically, there are many verticals and many lines of business are there. Each one will have its own standards. So in the same manner, like, okay, whenever you are dealing with healthcare, right? So they will be applying HIPAA transactions, which is nothing but Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which was came into existence from 1996, wherein which there will be some more rules will be applied on top of EDA for a healthcare transactions, I can say. In the same way, for the financial, right, we will be saying like it is a swift transactions, and then in electronic goods and everything, they will be using Rosetta Net. Like that, if you go back to the UK side, right, they will be using trade accounts. So there are multiple formats here, and each line of business is different from the other. But ultimately, they will be going back to their own specific EDA standard. On top of it, they will be applying some more here. Can you go to the next slide, Naresh, please? Yeah. So I was explaining about Excel, right? I have very well versed in Excel. So I just want to give you a bit of introduction on the how the message structure looks like, so that you can understand while we are going through the presentation here. So the actual file, you can say that it is a fixed format file in a way, and it will start with the ISA segment, which is like interchange control header segment, you can say, and which consists of multiple positions, multiple elements. I will talk about by showing the example in the next slide, and followed by group header, you will say, and the next one will be the transaction header, transaction set also we can say, and the respective the other bottom portion will be closed by transaction trailer and a group function group trailer and interchange control trailer. So the actual content, if you see right between STSC and all the other information will be called as envelopes. If you take an example, right, just to understand better, whenever you write a postcard or something, right, you will be using from and true address like that. So here also we will have the same kind of mechanism wherein which you will see who is the sender and what is his information, and then who is going to receive this information, all those things in the segment wise. uh, can you please change the next slide, Naresh? Yeah, as I was explaining about this ISA, right? So if you see, right, in the top ISA segment, which was separated with element separator, we can say star as element separator. ISA 05 signifies the sender qualifier, which is a value of 01 after XYZCO, and the next element will be calling a sender ID as like two address, I can say, and receiver ID, receiver qualifier, receiver ID followed by that, and I mean each segment wise there is some significance which I can say. After that, there is a date, time, version, everything like that. If you go to the GS segment section, right, there is a FA, which is nothing but functional acknowledgement, we'll say, which is popularly known in terms of 997. Everybody will say that 997, but not like functional acknowledgement when you talk with any customer or any partner you are dealing with. So in the same way, if you come back to the ST segment, which is like ST star 997, this is the placeholder where it will signifies the transaction number. I'll be talking like transactions later onwards, like 997, 850, 810, like that. So this is the place where you will see that. And actual data between S2, SC, ST, and SC is the actual data that is more interested when we are processing the transaction. The envelope information is required to validate whether the partner that is traded, that is mutually agreed or trading with, and then later on the actual data will be present in the STSC. Next slide, please, Naresh. Yeah, let me take you to some of the real time use cases, and then I will be adding that one to a flow, and then how it will be related to the transactions in the next slides. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if you see this, this is a typical example of the supply chain process. I'll be just generically explaining this. Later on, I will try to relate this one to the EDA side so that you will understand better. Usually, the procurement team here, what it will do is like, okay, it will try to procure the raw materials from the vendor, and they will be sent to the manufacturing unit. So once at the site, right, the raw materials will be converted to produce final products with the required composition, let's say, and then these bulk finished products, right, they will be sending to the warehouse for the actual real time distribution. I mean, we can say that warehouses are like godowns in common terminology, and then these products will be displayed in the e-commerce portal for the buyers, or else you will be seeing the catalogs and everything. So whenever there might be the orders coming, let's say through online or offline to warehouses, and the warehouse management, what they will be using, what they will be doing is like they will be fulfilling these orders based on the inventory and the stock availability. And once these orders will be dispatched, right, or shipped to the buyers, right, if there is any return or anything, they will be handled by reaching to the customer support team by placing a request for pickup. This is like a real time example of, let's say, if you buy some phone or anything in the e-commerce platform. But we need to see the bigger picture, like organization wise. So I just took one of this example here. Can you please go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So as I was explaining, right? So what buyer is doing is, initially he'll be asking for a quote for seller, and seller will be sending a quote information. Then based on the products availability and products of interest of the buyer, they will be they will be requesting a these products I need, like that. That will be called as a purchase order here, and whatever the received by the seller, right? So he will be acknowledged, and then once the products are ready to ship and then shipped, then he'll be sending out the shipping notification to the buyer. Then the accounts team, both sides of the accounts team will be traded with they seller side they will be sending the invoice, and the receiver side or buyer side they will be paying the amount. So this is the typical transactions that are flowing through the B2B supply chain, whatever I was explaining in the other slide. So if you see the right hand side, if you turn, if you convert the left hand side to the right hand side, usually the transactions that are real time happening will be the purchase order, which will be called as 850, and whenever the seller will be sending the shipping notification, it will be 856, and then these guys will be sending the invoice to the buyer, that will be 810, and the last one will be they'll be having the acknowledgements here in each section. So it will be like, okay, confirmation for the receipt of the message, then you will be seeing the 997 across the transactions. Can you go to the next slide, please, Naresh? Yeah, so I just added this one to give you the some of the real time examples, but this is like, okay, big ocean type of subject, I can say. Whenever you work on more, right? So you'll be understanding these numbers and everything. I just want to give you the touch on the healthcare side also. On the right hand side, you will see the number of healthcare transactions. This is similar to use case. Let's say if I go to the hospital in US. What they will do is like, okay, if I am the first time buyer, right, first time guy, so first they will do the enrollment, and then they will be taking all this your personal information and everything, and then they will be registering a claim to you, and then later on they will be going to the health insurance provider and then getting the amount to be blocked or anything for your treatment and everything, and then the actual things will happen later on. That will be the amount will be taken from the insurance provider after submitting the bills, and then it will be remitted by the health insurance provider to the hospitals. So you might be seeing like, okay, number of these transactions like 270 starts from 270 to 71, like that. The enrollment section which I was referring was 834, and the claims process will be like 837, and the remittance is like 276, something like that. Status report, all those things will be there here. This is a typical healthcare insurance which follows the HIPAA transactions. We can say HIPAA standards. And on the left hand side, if you see, I try to give some more transactions other than whatever we were discussing earlier, which are like, okay, 850 purchase order along with invoice, catalog, and price catalog, all those things here. So these are some of the common industry wise we'll be using when we are dealing with healthcare clients or retail clients across the customers. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now I will be giving you some more details of the AnyPoint Partner Manager. So next slide, please. So basically, we would like to give you more information before we go to the partner manager, right? Why, what is the importance of the modernization of this B2B and how it is helping the customers? So over the past few years, you might have observed many organizations have digitally transformed their enterprises by taking the cloud-first approach strategy for their core systems. So taking this API first approach, right, to bring their systems together into their application network by moving their away from the traditional legacy integration approaches was a we can say that a core part of this transformations. And EDI standards, whatever we were discussing just now till now, right? So those standards have helped these organizations to integrate with the other businesses seamlessly from past some of the decades for now, and then EDI can stay for many years, I believe. And at the same time, if organizations are looking for the alternate ways to connect with their partners through APIs. As after Mule coming to picture, it's more on API side. So I see that okay, so existence of this both B2B and APIs is required for processing these transactions at real time. If I go into deeper, right? So during the COVID time, I see that okay, as automation is required, and when we are working remotely and all of them, so more of the automation is going on everywhere. There will be like increase of the volume of the transactions that are traded by these partners, and I see that okay, for the cloud scalability perspective, I can say that cloud architecture will be best fit for the scalability that needs with the increase of the volumes that scales up over the period of time also. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, coming back to the Anypoint Partner Manager, this APM provides a single web-based user interface for transactions monitoring and partner configuration administration. It is a MuleSoft cloud-based solution to modernize, to exchange the B2B transactions with their partners. It accelerates this partner onboarding quickly with a few configuration steps, I can say, and it will be operational instead of days over the versus weeks. The partner onboarding will be pretty much a bit easy with the configuration steps here. And if you see in today's world, enterprises need to integrate these B2B transactions with several modern cloud-based applications. So with this partner manager being an integral part, it can both internal and external applications. And partner manager also offers this rich visibility to the life cycle of the business transactions. So whatever, whenever we are doing the partner communication, everything, trading the transactions, right? So there is an activity tab within the partner manager which will list down the contain the status of these documents, and also if there are any issues related with B2B connectivity or any validation issues will be shown very clearly in the activity tab. Next slide, please. Yeah, let's talk about any point partner manager architecture here. I will just give you bit information here. This slide talks about mainly the partner manager architecture as shown in this figure, right? Usually in Studio, we will develop flows using the data view language, and we'll be connecting through some connectors in the flows. And whenever it will be deployed to runtime for real-time interactions, there will be the exchange of information will be happening within the same network. So this partner manager, whatever you see, right? So it will have the partner onboarding, transaction management, configuration for the certificates and everything. So this will be basically organization profile, I can say, which has internal and external message types and their endpoints that will be used to integrate with the backend systems and also with the partners. And while you are creating the partner, right, so mainly you require the identifier information along with their names, Once you have those information, the connection, and then customizing this endpoint information, the certificate message flows will be a sequence of steps you will be doing in the partner manager onboarding. Next slide, please. Yeah. So one of the important aspect in the partner manager we'll see is like, okay, message flow. There are two systems here. I can say source and target, as I was explaining in the EDI, right? It's almost close to that one. So a message flow is the path wherein which a message will travel from the source endpoint to the target endpoint, I can say. So whenever it is traveling, right, there will be a data view transformation to map to its target, and there will be some message. You can say that there will be message types and endpoints, identifiers, mappings. So the partner manager's message framework, what it will do is like it will orchestrate the process of processing of these business transactions from source to target using these configuration objects that are highlighted here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in this slide. Can you please go to the next slide, please? So now you might be wondering where is this API-led architecture is coming for the B2B. So if you see this figure, right, if you see this diagram here in this, right, if you see very closely, let's say for an inbound scenario, I will be talking in general terms here to understand better. Let's assume a partner drops an EDI file in the SFTP location or FTP location from where you will have the access. So what it will be doing, like, okay, it will be passed and validated and then transformed to XML or required structure with the uploaded configuration in the partner manager, and then the data will be called to your organization endpoint, where in which maybe let's say if you configure the PAPI, I mean process API, or based on the requirement, maybe experience layer if it is required. So it will be called from that to that endpoint. Once it reaches to one of these layers, the next layers will be called, and then the data will be transformed and then send it to the backend system. This is a typical inbound scenario, and if you see the same outbound scenario also in the similar fashion, just reverse of this, where in which the data will be fetched from the backend system and then it will be sent to and then transformed to XML to EDI structure in the partner manager with the uploaded data view configuration, and then it will be sent to the partner endpoint the that is configured in the partner setup actually. Can you go to the next slides, please? So the next slides will be like, okay, if you see next to few slides will be the partner manager configuration. This is a typical organization configuration wherein which you will be seeing the identifiers of the host, I can say, or else the organization, and then their certificates and the endpoints that they will be receiving the information from the partner in case of a inbound. Next slide, please. So I was talking about the message flows, right? So I message types, right? I just took one screenshot for you guys to understand, where in which we'll be configuring a defact or 850 or anything that we want to process. So here in this message types, and please go to the next slide, please. Yeah, on the validation side, I was in the one of the slide, I think in the fourth or fifth slide, I was explaining about the translator. So where in which, let's say, if you want to validate the incoming EDA file, there will be set of rules and everything. For the EDIFACT, there will be different rules, and external there will be different rules, and each file will be validated by segment, element by element before it comes to the internal layer. At the partner manager level, if it is validated successfully, then only it will come to the internal layers. If it is not, then it will be shown as an error in the activity tab. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So in the partner configuration also, as like a organization, the partner will have his own ID, identifier, everything, and if there are certificates involved, then we'll be uploading the certificate section and the endpoints information, and then validations while we are sending the outbound document, and also if we have to send any acknowledgement, right? So the validation section will be having that information for a partner. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, this is one of the good feature we can see in the partner manager, where in which you can search for each and every document that is incoming and outgoing from the partner manager, and you will get the complete tracing and tracking of the document that is exchanged with the partner. If there are any validation issues, if there are any syntax errors, anything will be recorded here at the document viewer. So I am done here. And Kiran, can you please go through the demo, please?
Yeah. Hey, sure. Thank you so much, Hari, for that presentation. Naresh, can you make me the presenter, or I don't know how to share the screen? Okay, let me share my screen.
I think you're already a presenter.
Yeah, I am just sharing my screen. Let me know once you guys can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So one of the challenges that we currently faced is the partner manager configuration. We, we don't have that yet, so we were not able to build, what we were looking for. But what we have done is, um, I've seen a couple of chat messages that they have, they started out with, an AS2 connector, AS2 X12 combination, and then trying to move away from partner manager, move towards partner manager, right? So based on what Hari has mentioned, right, in terms of the partner manager setup that you have seen, so excuse me, sorry, the first setup that you do is the host or the organization setup itself, right? On how you want to access or how you want to receive the EDI documents, what sort of documents that you want to support. So all of that is done on the host or the organization configuration, which we typically do on the partner manager. Next comes your the actual partners being onboarded, right? In terms of partners as well, they have to provide, what are their identifiers, what kind of, EDI, let's say, X12 documents that you want to exchange, what type of specification, whether you want to use the out of the box specifications, for example, out of the box 850 EDI document that you want to use, or you want to customize it. So all of that discussions usually happen when you try to onboard the partner manager, right? So host setup, partner setup, the communication that's required, whether you want to use FTP, SFTP, or plain HTTP, or an AS2. AS2 is typically, most frequently used because it's secure, right? So after org, partner setup are done, the partners can actually send the EDI documents to the partner manager. As you can see, partner manager sits at the experience layer, right? Once the partner manager receives the document, it validates the X12 document to make sure that it conforms to the standard and that is already defined. So for example, if you're using 850, 850 has a specific standard, right? It has to have these set of fields. So ISA 0608, GS 0608, or the control numbers have to be same. Control numbers cannot be repeated or duplicated. So all of those checks and balances happens on the partner manager side. Once all of that all of that validation is done, partner manager translates the X12 structure to an internal structure, a JSON structure, and hands it over to the process layer. Now, process layer does its orchestration, its magic, integrates with the system layer, and then your documents, either the order gets created in a in SAP system or JD Edwards system, and then at the same time, one of the system APIs also generates the 997 acknowledgement and sends it back through the partner manager to your actual partner, right? That's the whole flow that Hari has mentioned. Now, what I have done is I have simulated the same flow that I've just discussed with a simple demo that we came up with quickly, right? So if you see the AS2 configuration, okay, if you see AS2 configuration, I have a host name, I have partners that I have defined, okay, and I've said that, I'm only going to accept on HTTP transport. It should be HTTPS, but for simplicity's sake, I'm using HTTP, and I'm saying that I'm going to accept only signed and encrypted payloads. If you send me anything other than that, I'm going to reject those. Okay, so that's the first setup that I have done, and this setup happens on the partner manager side. Okay, so I have the host, I have a couple of partners that I have defined. I've mentioned that I'm going to process an 850 document. That is something that I have missed. So I've said I'm going to process only the 850 documents in here. Where is that? It should be defined somewhere in here. Okay. Oh, sorry. No. I apologize. Okay, I'm saying that I'm only going to process an 850 and a 997. Other than that, I'm going to reject everything else, right? So I've captured that configuration in here. And then what I've done is, this is my actual AS2 flow where I'll listen for the signed and encrypted document. I'm going to get that document, convert it into, basic JSON structure after all the validations are done. And I'm going to call my process API. So within the process API, I'm going to insert a record in, let's say, JDE system, which is basically a log file. And then I'm going to generate a 997 functional acknowledgement if everything looks good. If there is an issue processing the transaction, a failed 997 will be generated, right? So all of that is simulated in here. Now, one thing to note that in general, if you look at the X12, some of you guys are already familiar with it, right? There are specific set of schemas that the connector is already shipped with. So any X12 or any transaction has various different versions. So we've started doing EDI, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, right? So we were doing 4010s or probably 3010s at that point of time. And then there are companies that do 5010s as well. So there are multiple different versions that the partner chooses. So the solution that we have should support out of the box, right? So the X12 parsers that MuleSoft has, has included all the different types of schemas that are supported. So I can pick 4010 for one customer, 5010 for another customer, right? And within those 4010 versions, there are predefined structures that are already available for, let's say, 850, right? So this is the structure that the connector would be using in order to validate the inbound EDI document. Now, this is available out of the box, but some of the customers might say, I want to tweak that. I don't want to pass in a specific segment. I want to have certain set of validation rules in place. So you can do all of that using an ESL language. So basically, you can build something out of using the same structure. You can override the structure and build a dedicated, let's say, EDI document, 850 document for only one specific partner. All those features are available out of the box, right? So, but for now, for the demo purposes, we are using only the out of the box 850, the out of the box 997. Okay. Right, let me start this project. I've created a simple Postman collection. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send. Okay, one thing that I forgot to tell you. The AS2 listener accepts only an encrypted and signed payload. It does not accept any, plain payload. So I did not have client tools. Since I was using Postman collection, I did not know how to encrypt the payload using specific algorithms, right? It was too much of work. So what I've done is I've created a dedicated raw data listener that accepts the X12 payload. It will basically sign and encrypt that payload and post it onto the H12 AS2 listener. Okay. Again, this is only for simulation purposes, but when a partner sends, it actually sends a signed and encrypted payload. Okay. Now my application has started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit send. I'm going to get an acknowledgement saying that the message was accepted and a translation will happen or a message will be processed. Okay. So now if you look at the if you look at the log file, okay, this is my raw data that I got. I'm just logging it, right? And this specific AS2 send activity has signed and encrypted. This is the signed and encrypted payload. AS2 listener will receive the signed and encrypted payload. It will run through it will decrypt the payload first and it will run through the X12 connector. So it has run through the X12 connector. And I know that this is my delimiter that was configured. It has one transaction set, a version of 4010 and a version of, and the EDI document is in 850. This is the interchange that was sent. This is the group that was sent. And these are the transaction details that were sent for that PO. Okay. Now, because I was able to parse the document, okay, it's a pretty long document, even though it's just one. So because I was able to parse the document, I have the functional acknowledgement generated, the interchange acknowledgement, the group acknowledgement, as well as the transactional acknowledgement. So this is the 997 that got generated successfully. Also, at the same time, the connector would also generate the interchange access or the 999s if you want to, look through them, right? At the end, as I mentioned, a 997 is generated. So typically, once a 997 is generated, there's a return process that happens wherein you take the 997. If your outbound is also configured as an AS2, you will take the payload. You'll take the raw 997. You'll convert that, sign and encrypt it, and send it over to the AS2 protocol. Okay. So this is the 997 that got generated. Let me show you. Give me just a second. I'm just pulling up the 997 that got generated. It stores as a file. So this is the 997 that got generated, and this is the one that gets sent out to the partner. Any questions?
Just to add, guys, so there will be a non-repudiation flow also, wherein in the B2B communications, right? The transaction might happen, and usually the partners are I can say the partners only. So they'll be coming back after 10 days or 15 days, the reconciliation say that, okay, this is not happened, something like that, or else I'm missing this transaction. So even in the AS2 listener also, can you please go to the listener, Kiran, once?
Yeah.
Show me the configuration. Yeah, properties, please. So the non-repudiation is nothing but storing of the information, raw data that is coming into on your side also, whatever the regular processing that will be happening in real time, but the copy will be saved on the partner side, where the partner who is doing the processing actually. So this is also one of the very good feature available in the Mule, so that if you define a flow here, non-repudiation flow, and store the data that is in, so that will be saved to a disk, or you can put it in some of the data source also. Yeah, that's all from my side, Kiran. Just wanted to give
Hari mentioned,
update on that non-repudiation flow.
Sure. So like Hari mentioned, so if you look at, so you can build similar sort of functionality with what I have just shown you. I think some of you guys are already doing it, but there are other parts of the whole EDI ecosystem that you have to build, like what Hari mentioned, right? So getting and processing EDI documents is one, but you also have to take care of non-repudiation. You also have to take care of transaction monitoring. So these are all the features that you have to build in order to have a full-blown, EDI solution, right? But what APM does is you don't need to do that. So instead of code-based solution that I've just shown you, what APM gives you is a low-code configuration-driven solution wherein you configure your host, you configure your partner, and the platform takes care of parsing the documents. The platform takes care of the non-repudiation, the logging, and everything. The transaction, the platform also gives you the ability from a monitoring. So there's a transaction monitoring feature that gets shipped with the platform that gives you the end-to-end traceability as well.
So I have a question here, Kiran. Maybe.
Yeah.
So we have this API developed in the studio, and let's say you deploy into Cloud Hub or any MuleSoft infrastructure. So we can call that API,
Yes.
externally, and we don't need a partner manager there. Is that right?
So no, so that's what I was saying. So this is a toned down version of APM.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a toned down version. It doesn't give you all the features. You have to build a lot of features, right? So this is a full code sort of functionality that you have to build. What APM does is it provides you the low code environment. It provides you the configuration driven functionality, right? So the host configuration that I've shown you, the schema configuration that I have shown you, and the non-repudiation flow that Hari spoke about, right? And the transaction monitoring, all of that I have to build in. So if you have like smaller number of partners, this makes sense. But as your partner ecosystem is growing, as the number of transaction types that you are handling is growing, this will not be the right solution. So at that point of time, you have to move to an any point partner manager where instead of taking weeks and weeks in order to build that sort of partner onboarding, it's just it's just day or days to onboard a new partner, because it's at the end of the day it's configuration driven.
Okay. One more last question from my end. I worked in B2B other platforms. There is some capability called scheduling or retry kind of. Do we have those here from the partner?
It is built into the platform, so it is
Okay.
built into the partner manager, right? But again, on this side, you have to build that functionality. But what it does offer is, if I send the same control number again, if I send the same document number again, the process that I'm showing you will reject it. It will not process it.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. There are bits and pieces that are available, but partner manager is more than AS2. Partner manager encompasses a lot of different business protocols that you configure, a lot of different technical protocols that you configure, and a simpler way to onboard your partners. It's called technical onboarding, but in a simpler, low code way of onboarding them.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Thanks for that, Kiran. I have few questions from the audience. Can I read
Sure.
it out?
Yeah.
Okay. The first question is, one second. Sorry. It's just scrolling up. Yeah. Which protocol can be used to send data from APM to process API? I think this is related to your demo.
Yeah, so it's a flow. So at the end of the day, partner manager to partner manager lives in the experience side. Process API lives on in the internally. It's an API, so obviously communication would be HTTP.
Yeah,
It's at least the preferred communication would be HTTP.
Okay. Second question: difference between HTTP listener and AS2 listener. Maybe that is implicit.
No, so AS2 is a business protocol. So AS2 is a business protocol on how and what needs to be done in terms of that document processing. But that document, how that is delivered is HTTP, right? So AS2 is developed specific. So the predecessor for AS2 is AS1, which basically says EDI document send me on SFTP or FTP or mail. And AS2 is you can only send the EDI document over EDI or Rosetta document over HTTP or HTTPS, right? How you package the data, what kind of controls you put on the data that you are sending is defined by the AS2 standard. So AS2 is business protocol. HTTP is a technical protocol.
Okay. Uh, Again, second another question: do you have provision to check or validate HIPAA or X12 compliant?
Yeah, Naresh, I responded to that. It's external actually. We have that
Okay.
question.
Can we push orders to AMQ from APM? Is another
Um,
question.
I don't think so because it's a queue, right? Usually we'll be selecting the target endpoints, guys. But the messaging system, I can say, but I did not explore much on that side.
Yeah. Yeah, it's any point MQ and integration between APM. We need to check the product behavior if it is compatible. Um, yeah. One more question. Mule will reject if inbound EDI documents are not EDI standards with respect to length of any segments. Can it send any notification or alert emails to sender or receiver in case of failure? Do you have that in APM?
Uh,
um,
I don't think so. We did not extensively do the that kind of notifications, I believe.
Yeah, maybe in the code you can have send email connector kind of to send an alert. So probably something SMTP protocol component might be available in APM that we need to check in the product.
Yeah.
Uh,
Vijayan is also giving the answers, guys. So Vijayan is one of the. I
okay,
saw a couple of videos from Vijayan also to get a feel of partner manager.
okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Sujian. Anything left? Maybe last.
I saw one question on the retries. Yes, retries are supported on the APM. I think it was introduced sometime last year.
Yeah,
But there is a limitation on retry. I think HTTP, FTP, SFTP, I believe, is where the retry works. So there's a limitation on the protocol. HTTP definitely. So that means AS2 is supported in terms of retry.
nice. Any utility to check and retrieve internal, external client certifications? Oh, certificate expiry. Maybe probably APM will alert you if certificate is expired. I'm not sure for the partners.
Um, it's an error. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if there is a roadmap item that lets if the certificate expires and a notification is sent, that's something that I have to check. But definitely, the transaction would fail and you would receive a notification. Not an ideal way,
Yeah.
but we have to check if it's implicitly supported.
yeah, makes sense. So when validation is failed, can we get 997, a different 997?
Yeah. So as I said, right, a 997 is for both success and failure scenarios. So success scenarios, you will get an accepted 997. Failure scenarios, it basically says your document number or control number that you submitted is rejected. There's a status that gets included as part of 997, which says whether that's an A, which means it's accepted, or whether it's an R, which means it's rejected.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think we answered most of the questions. It's really informative. Questions are also insightful. Um, so I can proceed. If no more questions from the audience, we'll have a short a Menti quiz session where you need to answer 5 questions from um, from the session. So whoever answers first, top three will get a certification voucher. I'll be just presenting that Menti website. 1 second. Can you see the screen? Kiran, can you help me?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay. So please, everyone, right? Whoever want to participate this, yeah. If you already know to the Menti platform, I see two people already joined. You use this code 2188 5685 from your mobiles, laptops, iPads, wherever possible. And forgot to say thanks. Thanks, Vijay, for answering and giving information over the chat. Let's wait for a few more. I see 17 audience. Okay, nice. Yeah, let me start. So every question will have only 20 seconds to answer. And we have 5 questions here. Okay, I'm just starting now. Okay. Okay. Second question. Hope I think you'll get good answer for this. Nice. Great. Sweet. So fourth question. Okay. Equally divided. Okay. No, Madhav, Anil leading. We have fifth question. Okay, here are the final winners. No, no, congratulations. Please,
Congratulations, Nono.
yeah, good job, Nuno. Nuno, Sai, Teja, Priyanka, and Madhav. Please put your emails in the chat window. I'll collect and we'll send a request for the voucher for you. Good job, guys. Yeah, no, Sai. Yeah, Sai, Teja, please put your email. Okay, nice. Thank you. It's a it's a nice session. Thanks, Kiran and Hari. It's really insightful. If you want to add anything at the end, you please go ahead.
No, I just want to reiterate, thank you so much for the opportunity. Some of the questions that we received are great questions. We truly appreciate, the audience involvement, during the session as well. So thank you so much, guys. Hari, anything that you want to add? Hari, if you're talking, you're probably talking on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for providing the opportunity, and also I see that very good questions. I was also learning, and then I was trying to share the knowledge while I was doing. So it's a very good interactive session, and I see that majority of the people are very close to your answers. Also, we just want to give you a brief introduction on the EDI side and also the partner manager. That is a future, very good future available with MuleSoft. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you can always send the feedback, all the audience, right? You can send the feedback about the session and the presenters, or this meetup. And if you have any suggestions, please provide that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Kiran and Hari. Ajay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.